Section 4. Format worksheets and workbooks. In this section, we are looking at the various ways of formatting the worksheets and workbooks in Excel. We'll cover the following questions. 3. Customize header and footer. 4. Adjust row height and column width. 5. Modify page setup. From the study guide, which is provided to you with this course.
Again, header and footer is, you say sir simple है, ऊपर heading देना है, नीचे footer देना है, काम हो गया, चलो. Again, इसके अंदर बहुत interesting aspects. पहले हम क्वेश्चन आंसर कर लेते हैं, then I'll explain to you. Classes 1, add the file name as a header to the current worksheet, then add the current date to the left side of the footer. Perfect. I have to add the file name and I want to add the date. So let's open classes 1 and let's add the file name and the date. Okay, you should be able to see now classes 1. This is my classes 1 ka sheet. When you look at a sheet, you will never find header or footers on this sheet, because this is your normal view of the sheet. Our Excel sheet can be viewed in different ways. And for header and footer, we have got view and we have got something known as page layout. There are 2 page layouts. Don't get confused. There is 1 page layout over here. This is the page layout for you to be able to do changes to the pages. And the second under view page layout is for you to see the pages, how they are going to look when they are printed. This is the page layout, where I can see the page with white space around it, and you can see every page has been divided by a separator here. This is giving me the look of pages in my document. So he says that to apply a header or footer, that means this white area which I have over here has got an header and footer, and I can very clearly see it. There is 1, 2, and 3 boxes over here. I will click on any one box and I have got my header on. So you can place your content either on the left, either in the center, or on the right. Your wish where you want to place it. Suppose I say I want to place it in the center. I click on the center box. And automatically a design window opened up on top, giving me all these options. This came up as soon as I enter my header. जैसे ही मैं बाहर आ जाऊंगा, there is no design. इधर design करके है ही नहीं. Once I enter inside my header, I get the option of design. And under design, I went to the center and I said, I want to insert the file name. Right here it is, file name. I will just click it, and the name of the file, classes 1, has come in the center of my header. As simple as that. Same way I go down and I say, okay, I want to go to the footer now. I've got a footer also. I say, chalo. I'll click on the left hand side and I will go to design. And in the footer, he told me to insert the date. So there is an option over here known as current date. I will click on that and my job is done. I have now got the date also in my footer. So मेरे header में file name आ गया, footer में date आ गया. I am happy. I am sorted with my header and footer. This was the question. This is the answer. Now I'm coming to a very interesting aspect. When I went to insert the date in my footer, I got this and date in a bracket. What is this and date in the bracket? I wanted the date. Why am I getting this? And when I click outside, I get my date. The date which I have put right now is a date which will keep changing every day. That means if I open this file tomorrow, the date will be 22nd. If I open a day after, it will become 23rd. Then again 24th, then again 25th. So this is giving me my current date, which is getting updated automatically. So when I am going to save this file and when I'm going to send this file to somebody, it is going to show the date when I have sent this file. So suppose I had completed this file, I had finished working on this file and I had saved this file 2 days back. My project is completed 2 days back, but I've submitted the project today. Right now, the person will think I have completed the project today and I have submitted it today, because this date is going to change, as I told you. So even though my project is completed on the 18th, the person who will receive this file will think यार ये भाई ने last minute काम किया है, last minute project submit किया है मेरे को. On the day of submission, this person has completed the project. Even though that's not the truth, but the truth will be visible when a person sees this date. Will he believe you that you made the project on 18th? He will not. Because what have you done? You have given him today's date. So why should he believe you? And why did you put today's date? Because Excel said insert the date. So you went to design and you said current date. You didn't do anything wrong. You have done right. You got the date. So always remember that the date which you get from here is the date which will keep changing whenever you are going to send the file. So you will keep one date and you will write over here submitted on this date. And here in the center, you will write project completed on 18-07-2021. Done. This looks exactly the same as this. Can you tell me the difference when you look at it? No, you can't. But there is a big difference between this date and this date. This date will not change. This date will keep changing. So whenever you are using the concept of date in your header and footer, please remember that if you have to do something like this, then be clear that this date is automatic changing, whereas this date is manually typed, which is never going to change. So this is the way you would create or submit a project, by having both these dates. Otherwise, the person would get an impression that you have completed the project last minute on the day when you submitted it. Let's look at 3B. What is 3B now? 3B is very simple. It's just adding another element only. It says classes 1, view the current worksheet in page layout. Add the sheet name to the right side header. बस उतना ही करना है, ये तो difficult नहीं है. वो हमको बोल रहा है classes 1 file is open. On the right hand side of your header, you please insert the sheet name. I will simply go and say sheet name and my job is done. हो गया, file name भी आ गया और sheet name भी आ गया. That is why when we work with header and footer, it is very important that you give a name to your sheet. Sheet name is very important because you are going to put it in the header or footer. So your sheet should always have a name, should have a purpose, should have a significance. Ki what is sheet 1 about? Usme hai kya? What data does it have? What is the relevance and importance of sheet 1? To show the importance and relevance, you have to give a very proper name to sheet 1. Like this is giving me the attendance of students. That's what sheet 1 is giving me. That I've got 27, 39, 27. ये मेरा attendance दे रहा है. और अगर attendance नहीं होगा, तो you can call it the strength of students. तो ये जो दिखा रहा है वो दिखा रहा है the strength of your students in the class. फाइल का नेम तो क्लासेस है कि नहीं? See, I can give space here just to let you all know. In file name you can give a sheet name, you can give a space. So strength of classes, all my different classes ka strength. And classes 1 is the file name. Again, classes 1 is a, because I'm training you all as classes 1, it would be having more meaning, the name. I would give a proper file name to it. Maybe my institute's name or something like that. That would appear as a header over here. And I would have strength of classes written over here. See? The person knows कि ये page में strength of classes है. Let's come to question 4. Rows and columns. ये भी बड़ा interesting है. इसमें एक ही question है. But the question has a lot of meaning and significance. So, before I proceed with the question, I'll just give you an example. तो ये मेरा sheet 1 है. Let me go to normal view first. ठीक है. And we have a very normal habit कि हम लोग कुछ मैटर फिट नहीं होता है, हम ऐसे ड्रैग करके उसको फिट कर देते हैं. ऐसे ही करते हैं ना, जनरली ड्रैग करते हैं या डबल क्लिक करते हैं, उसको फिट करते हैं. अब ये गलत नहीं है, ये एक्सेल ने दिया है ऑप्शन. तो आई कांट टेल यू दैट व्हाट यू आर डूइंग इज एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग, बट इट इज, टू बी ऑनेस्ट विद यू, इट्स अ कम्बरसम टास्क. जाके ऐसे एक एक को बढ़ाओ फिट करने के लिए डेटा, मजा नहीं आता. सो आई एम कमिंग टू अ वेरी प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल. I am going to name these columns. I'm going to size them, not name them, but size them. I'm going to size these columns. So I've selected all these columns. And I go to something known as format. And I choose column width. And I'm going to size it. So वो जो मेरा question है वो यही है. 2 to 30 row height change करना है, row number 2 का to 30 and width of F and G to 12. He's telling us to do it for F and G. I am doing it for all. Same question it is. So I go here and I make the size as 12. And मेरा जो row number 22 है, उसका मैं size change करता हूँ by going to row height and I'll make it 30. I successfully changed. I did the question and the answer. This was the question. This is the answer for it. But I'm giving you more purpose to this now. ये तो आपने बोला सर आप sizing बता रहे हो सर, ये तो sizing करना बड़ी बात नहीं. But the reason why I did this sizing, I'm telling you now, is very simple. I know that from B to M, my row or my column width is 12. I know that. Now it will become very easy for me. So if a person says, I want the size of my columns to be exactly the same as the size which you have given to this other sheet, I'll say, oh, बस उतना ही करना है, ये तो बहुत easy है. I choose B to M on my next sheet and I will simply go to format and column width and I will type 12 and my job is done. Because I had used the method of not changing the size using this dragging business, and because I used this method of selecting my columns and going to format and going to column width and putting a number, that is why for me, for any sheet, to change the column width or to match the column width is a jiffy. It is a seconds job, not even minutes. Just have to select B to M and go here and just change this to 12 and it's done. Actually took me a second to do this because I knew the size of my columns and also the height of the rows. Same principle can be applied for the rows also. Person says आपका जो second row है मुझे same height यहाँ पे भी चाहिए for row number 5 for example. I will choose 5 and I will simply go to row height and I have to just type 30 and मेरा काम हो गया. I get exactly the same size as my row number 2. So marginalization basically is very simple actually. It's everything to do with sizing your page and fitting the data based on the size of the page. So here he has just told us a very simple thing to do. He says classes 1 for this worksheet, set the page margins to wide and orientation to landscape. So we just open classes 1 and we just set the orientation to landscape and margins to wide. So we just a minute, classes 1 has opened up. I'll just share it. There you go. So we can see our classes 1 sheet and he says, so I go to page layout and I say, okay, I have to work around the pages. I've got margins which need to be wide and I have orientation which needs to be a landscape. That's all he told me to do and I've applied that setting to my page. Now, leaving aside the question, when I go to orientation or margins, any one of these options, Excel will give me certain predefined settings. Normal, wide, narrow. Ye predefined hai. This is defined by Excel itself. I have not defined these. And obviously orientation mein portrait and landscape to orientation de raha hai. When I look at my margins by going to custom margin, I realize that yes, I've got margins which are set at 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. And I've got my header and my footer which is set to 1.3. But the data that I've got, it is right now, if you look at it, is in one corner of the page. Can you see there's in the preview box, the other area around me is white. And I can see only these boxes touching to one edge of this page. This is happening because maybe my page has more space than the data I want to fit in my page. So in order to make my data appear perfectly in the center of this page, I have to choose center on page horizontally and vertically. These options are not switched on automatically for me. I have to manually go and switch it on. And then when I do a print preview, you will see that the data is in the center of the page with white space all around in equal proportion. So what this indicates is that by just me going and choosing a margin setting and by me going and choosing an orientation, I have not achieved the final, you can say, alignment of my printing. ये तो हमने ऐसे ही चूज किया भाई, हमको मार्जिन नैरो चाहिए कि नॉर्मल चाहिए कि वाइड चाहिए, और ओरिएंटेशन लैंडस्केप चाहिए कि पोर्ट्रेट चाहिए. That's the generalized thing that we do. But when I go into my margins, only over there do I realize that these options have to be switched on horizontally and vertically. for my data to come exactly in the center of the page. So this is very important aspect as far as margins and orientation goes. Margins तो आप कुछ भी सेट कर सकते हो जो आपको कन्वीनियंट लगे. इसका कोई फिक्स रूल नहीं है इतना ही मार्जिन होना चाहिए या इतना ही होना चाहिए. Margin is totally based on your convenience, which is based on the amount of data on the page. If I have too many columns, ये A से लेके समझो R तक जा रहा है, so it may not fit in one page, and that is something which I don't want. I want the full data to fit in one page. So according to that, I plan out my page margin and my orientation. All right. So this is your page margin and orientation, how we can apply the different settings to make our page margin and orientation perfect.